Okay, give me just a moment or two here. And boom, boom. And let me pop out the chat. Bow. And finally, shabow. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. If you're watching this after the fact, which, according to the number of viewers down there, everyone is, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And Anycubic Photon does amazing for miniatures. In fact, I got a couple printing right now. So, a lot of you know that a lot of the figures that I've sculpted for giving away on Thingiverse and in general sculpting on Tuesdays and Thursdays were for the game I'm in. One on Wednesdays, one on Saturdays. Well, we have a new player in the game on Wednesdays. He's playing a simple human barbarian with a great axe, and that's what we'll be sculpting tonight. Hopefully he's a little bit more interesting than just a human with a great axe. When he shows up, I'm going to do my usual, start asking him about the character so I know what to do, and we'll get into doing it. Meanwhile, I decided to experiment a little with contrast paint. Pow. Yes, this is my flesh golem from the other night, last week. And I used a combination of regular paints and contrast paints to paint him. What I did was I used one shade of kind of grayish green from Army Painter called Necrotic Flesh. And I painted the figure that color. And then I threw on top Guilliman Flesh. And then dry brushed it a bit more with the green to bring that green tone back. I used a couple of different red inks over the areas like where the tubes are plugging into his skin, where the scars are and that. The laces are actually ivory. The pants, I painted the pants a light blue from Viejo, sky blue, and then gave it a coat of the Telesar blue, which turns out to be really, really bright blue. The shoes are snakebite leather. Yes, Carlton. Yes, you can let go now. Let me go ahead and make sure that my guest is coming. And whenever you are ready. Oh, crazy kid. Let me put you down. There you go, down on the floor. Okay. Anyway. So, once he gets in here, even though there probably won't be very many other people watching, we'll get into making his critter. His barbarbarbar. Excuse me. For those who didn't see it, I did finish the elf assassin that I was working on last week. Where is it? Here he is. Excuse me. Came out pretty good, didn't he? A little rose-shaped handguard and nice weird-shaped shoulder pauldron. Yeah, he came out pretty good. Let me go ahead and remove this. There. Now, all I know about this character is that he has a great axe, he's a barbarian, and he definitely does not like undead. Oh, and he's Totem Warrior, by the way. So now we wait for him to show up. And while we're waiting, we can discuss, like I said, one thing I really, really like about these watercolors is their inks. You see how transparent that is. The watercolor lemon ink, utterly transparent. You compare that with, say, the game color yellow ink from Vallejo, and it's not so transparent. Yeah. Big difference there. And hello! He is 7'1". Okay, that tells me another thing I didn't know about him. This is the gentleman for whom I will be doing the sculpt. Okay. Now, I need to know a few things more than just he's 7'1". Culture. Is he Nordic? Is he Celtic? Is he a Hun? Is he generic fantasy Conan type? His axe. Yes, it's a great axe, but is it a double-headed axe? Is it a Bardiche? Is it a Dane axe? Is it a Lochaber axe? Okay, Celtic, that gives us a lot of room to play. That means it's most likely not going to be a Lochaber axe or Bardiche, because those are later period. It could be a Dane axe, it could be a Bipenist, a double-headed axe. Double-headed with the bone handle. Okay, so that tells me right there, no wood grain down the handle. Now, does he have a beard? I'm assuming he does. And if so, does he have braids in either his beard or his hair? And I'm assuming he's also got long hair. And while we're discussing this, we can go ahead and this is the base figure. Since he's going to be musculature, we're going to go over here to parameters, modifiers, and turn smooth torso to 0. Let's increase muscular. And then he's 7'1". So 7.08 divided by 6, 1.18. So we could make his scale 118% scale. Okay, long blonde hair and a beard. Does he have braids in either beard or hair? Also, make this a bit... Let's bring that scale down to 96%. Oh, oops. All scale, 96. Yeah, there we go. And the first thing that we're going to add, we're going to go ahead and add on the beard. That will be made longer when we get to sculpting. We're going to add on the kilt, and we're going to add on the cloak. Okay, is it to the left, to the right, going down the center back? Where is the braid? The braid is something we're actually going to be sculpting on towards the end, but it's just, it's a good idea to know where and when, what area. Now, while we're waiting on the response, because there is a delay in. There we go. There is a excuse me. There is a delay in the chat. It's simply because it's got, lag. Okay, there we go. That is axe in hand. By the left ear. Okay. Now, do you have any idea what kind of pose you want him in? Because right now, this is just a very generic pose. This is literally what's called the A pose. There's no character, no flavor, it doesn't feel natural. Nothing. I mean, you could do the whole cliche, just standing there. He could be berserk, about ready to chop somebody in half. He could be in a more defensive posture, running forward, ready to chop. Any number of potential poses. Just anything you can think of, practically. So, overhead axe. The only problem with that is it would make it extremely difficult to sculpt his hair. But I'm assuming that... Now, would he be stepping forward? Would he be running? There's so many different ways to do that. Also, we're going to be hiding the props until we get him in a basic pose. Also, is it more like downward swing from the side, from the center? Okay, so it'd already be here. Alright. Now, is he leaning forward into it? Is he running into it? Because that'll determine the position of the hip. Charging forward. Okay. One last thing, and I'm going to bring us back to here for this, and that's the base. This is the first batch of bases that I made. Plain blank base right here, but then we've got, tile, cobblestone, ignore the metal plate and the tech banner here. And then we've got grass, wood planks, rock, and then we've got ancient tile, cracked earth, gravel, organic, a couple different grates, magic circle, asteroid, and swampy. Grass. Okay. Alright, so I'm back to here. File. Import. Base. Grassy. Go from the front view. And lower this. Lower this down to about there. And we're going to hide it. We're going to end up having to make it a little bit bigger because this guy is a little bit bigger. So now, if he's charging forward, that means that the hips are forward like this, rotated like this, and kind of angled like that. And this leg comes forward and out to the side just to get him straight. It doesn't need to be quite so far forward. And then a little bit of twist. Bend this down, because he's going to be having the toe bend like that. Bend the foot back a bit more. Okay, and then we need to rotate it once again. Okay. Now we need to bring it a bit further forward, because we need to have the weight ready for the figure itself. Bring this up a bit and toe down. Front view, zoom in, and we're going to need to rotate the foot a bit. Okay, Control D to drop it to the ground. Go back to perspective. And now this leg. Side to side. Contrary to popular thought, most people can't actually bend their legs very far back. When you bend your leg back, your hip is rotated forward. And then we're going to bend it back here. Twist. I do have one more question on your clothing. Your boots. Are they more? Do they have a fur top? Do they have a more just no cuff at all? Do they have a cuff? Which is it? Now, twist that way, side to side. I'm gonna bend the torso back just a little over at the waist. And then bend it forward again at the chest. Okay. The boots is the only question. Cuffs, fur top, or no cuff, they just end sharply. Other than that, when you come back, I'll probably be deep into sculpting. And you're gonna have to trust me on the pose. Okay, fur tops. All right. Which means we can go in here on the content library, go back to clothing. I actually have some fur boot tops that I've made. Where is it? There it is. And let's turn off those boot cuffs. Now we need to, we're going to pin the chest real quick. Pin translation and pin rotation. We're going to bend this all forward. The reason why we're pinning it is because we're going to kind of need to, because once we've got this in a pretty good position, we're going to move the hand by grappling it. And then here. Okay. We can go ahead and drag this down a little bit, give it a little bit more shaft. Now we're going to rotate, and just a little, and just a little bit like that. Now, in order to get this left hand in the right shape, we're going to actually load in another weapon, grab that weapon, and delete it, because that lets us correctly. Now we need to rotate the hand back that way. And now put it back that way. And no. There we go. Bring that in and rotate it. Almost got him in the basic pose before we tweak the head. There we go. Right now he's kind of looking to the side. We don't want that. We want him looking to the front. And let's turn it that way. And okay. Let's look how it looks with just the basic stuff on now, because the next thing we have to do is we have to pose the cloak. Okay, so we take the cloak and we go up here and we go to expand from selected. We're also going to hide where it has R color and L color, R thigh and L thigh. That's L thigh, not Elsa. No, let it go songs. Okay, center cloak 1. I'm gonna back it out a bit. Center cloak 2, we're gonna back it in a bit. Okay. Whoop. We're gonna unpin everything, by the way. Okay, there we go. That did well. Now, we're gonna select that center cloak again. We're gonna rotate it back over this way and pivot it like that. Then we're going to start playing around with these side bits. Like this, we're going to kind of open up that a little bit. And this one, we're going to open up quite a bit. We're going to continue to open the bottom of this. And then L cape 2. We're actually going to bring it down some. And we're also going to bend it a bit more. Now, that is the basics of what he's going to look like when he's done. Now, what we do is we hide the axe, the beard, the skirt, the cloak, and the cuffs. We're going to make the base visible, and we can keep it a standard base size because his feet are close enough. And we're just going to slide it back a bit. And then we're going to hide the base. Alright, now, File, Export. And we're going to take this into New Broadcast Miniatures, new folder. Do you mind? Can I fit it? Really? Do you mind? I know you haven't been on screen lately, but you got... No. Gotta put it on the floor, little fuzzbutt. There you go. Alright, this is going to simply be Barbarbarbar. Be body. Gonna hide him. Make the axe visible. File, Export. Be axe. Accept. But then I'm gonna make the beard visible. File, Export. Be beard. Oh, that's right. One last thing I have to do with the tunic. The left thigh is currently twisted 21.98, so the left thigh of this is negative 21.98. There. The right thigh is currently twisted 6.17, so the right thigh here is negative 6.17. Alright, so anyway, that's that. We're going to close this. And then File, Export, be tunic. Accept. Close it. Turn that on. File, Export, be cloak. Accept. Close it. There. File, Export, be boots. Accept, and then hide it. Turn this on. File, Export, be base. Accept. And now that we've done all that, we can now switch back over to ZBrush. Okay. Oh, oops. Document new. No. Import. Meshes. Resculpt. Broadcast, new, Barbarbarbar. Be body. And draw. Edit. Turn. Subtool. Insert. Polymesh. Import. Tunic. Insert. Polymesh. Import. Beard. Insert. Polymesh, import boots. Insert Polymesh, import cloak. Insert Polymesh, import axe. Insert Polymesh, import base. And once again, this is the current state of our buddy. Well, we're actually going to focus on the cloak before anything else. And when we do this, I'm going to have to go ahead and go to the Move tool, because we need to kind of fix this little warpy area. And with the Move tool, we also grab the Wacom tablet. Alright, we're going to hit this. We're also opening that for future brush use. And then we're going to make this bigger. We're going to grab here and kind of move up. We're also going to kind of pull this in a bit so it's not quite as thick and it's not as heavy, because we had some issues with some other figures with flowy cloaks. I'm also going to come in here, visibility, not visibility, display properties, double-sided, which means if we accidentally go in and overlap, we'll see that. Now, I'm going to reduce the strength of smooth down to about there, and we're going to smooth this cloak. Now we still have move. We're going to move it over here and over here, and then up here. And just smooth it just a bit. And now we're going to export it. Yes, we're going to export it. Export cloak. Yes, we want to replace it. The reason we're doing this is because we're going to open up the UV layout program. We're going to load Sculpt Minis, broadcast, new, Barbarbarbar, cloak. Yes, we are mapping this cloak because we're going to be putting scales on the back of it. So, Control Shift C. Where's it? Control Shift C. And yeah, there we go. And then Shift C here. Because what we want to do is we want to have the inside of it not split, or not be, we want down here to not have scales, only the outside. The inside and bottom won't have scales. I am going to actually come to think of it, I am going to go ahead and split off the bottom. Drop, drop, drop. And we go to UV layout. This is the outside back. Let's go ahead and flatten it first. Okay, that gives us an idea of where it is. Flatten that, select them, optimize, run. Okay. Now, we are now going to pack best, bleed 3, pack all. We're also going to then select these guys and shrink them. I should have done that first. Now we pack it all. We're now going to select these guys and move them up here to make them easily selected. And now save all. Dismiss. Close that. Oh no, we don't want groups. Actually, groups. Polygon. New New group, inner. New group, outer. And we're going to save it again. Save all. Miss. Exit. Okay. Now we're going to import cloak again. Hey, it doesn't look like anything happened. However, now... Oh, heck. Alright, that didn't work. So what we do, go over here. We go ahead and load in Resculpt, Broadcast Miniatures, New, Barbarbarbar, and B-Cloak. Okay. Tools, vertices, weld. Okay. Now this. Tools assigned to group. Inner. Okay. Yes. Select inverse. Tools assigned to group. Outer. Yes, we want to create it. And then save. Okay. Alright, now we go back in, and once again, we're going to import cloak. Now, when we hit Control Shift, we get inner or outer, which is what we need. We're going to geometry, and we are going to subdivide it until we have about 2 million polys, or in that range. Or 5 million. 5 million will do. Now, zoom in. We're going to delete lower. We go to surface, noise, UV. Rotate that so we can see the scales that we're about to have. Alpha on or off. Get alphas. And we want rev sharp scales. We're going to reduce the basic noise, and we're going to increase the strength until, yeah. Now the scale, alpha scale, we're going to reduce until it's, yeah. I'm going to click OK. We're then going to mask by noise. Okay. We are then going to masking, inverse, Control Shift Enter, or Control Shift click, and mask that completely. And then we're going to blur the mask. Now deformation, and we're going to inflate. Okay. That is what we want this cloak to look like. A cloak of scales. Okay, and then we're going to draw to get rid of that. Okay, the cloak came out good. We're not going to mess with the cloak again until it's time. Next, we're going to hide everything else and work on the body, as our usual. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to shrink this. We're going to smooth out in here. Let's... Okay, and right here. Then, right here. And here. Now we don't need to worry about the butt because we're going to have that kilt. We need to switch to inflate. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger and a little bit less intense. And we're going to kind of just build up this pec because it is coming out forward and the pecs are bending out pretty good. The bicep, we're going to give it just a little bit of inflation just to match the size of the rest of him. And then we're going to inflate severely on the back muscles back here. Also going to kind of close that by inflating it. Okay. That's a bit too much. We're going to deflate back here. That's a bit too much. That's virtually a hunchback like that. We're going to smooth out here, even though we don't really need to, just to do it a little bit smoothing here. Alright, now I'm going to get some soda. Okay, it's 10 after 8. We're going to go up to the face, and we're going to use the inflate tool. Shrunk down quite a bit, and we're going to mostly inflate the lower lip. And I'm going to use Move Topological. Up it a little bit, and we're going to pull the lip down. To close the mouth. We're also going to shrink this mouth even more, and we're going to smooth out the underside of the lip. And then with inflate, we're going to inflate under the lip. In a real world person, this would give them a significant underbite, but in a miniature, it allows the lip to be visible and define where the mouth is. Now, with the Move tool, let's shrink this down a bit. We're going to move and just kind of sculpt the shape of the face. We're assuming he's going to be angry. Because he is a barbarian, he does go berserk. Or rage. He's also Celtic, so we're going to reduce some of the hook in the nose and use inflate to kind of exaggerate his cheekbones. Make them a little bit thicker and rounder. Okay, frame out. We're going to turn on the beard just so we can do a little bit of refining to it. For example, we're going to inflate down here. And then we're going to smooth it. Okay, we're going to turn it off now. Next step is we go to geometry, Dynamesh, change it to 768. Dynamesh. Wait, no, not yet. We subdivide a few times until it's 1.4, delete lower. Now we Dynamesh at 768. Dynamesh. There we go. Now, there's not much else yet on the body, but we're leaving it as Dynamesh right now because we're going to the tunic next. And we are going to then geometry, you're going to subdivide it a couple times. I'm just going to get that ready. Now we go back to move. We're going to make it bigger, about yay big. And we're going to start playing with the positioning of the tunic itself. And then we're going to pull in parts of it and pull out parts. This is going to come straight up and in, but this is going to come out. And smoothing it a bit. We can now increase the smooth to 100% and then okay. Now we're going to merge them down. Merge down. Boom. And I draw and it merges. And then shrink this a little. And we're going to smooth that out. Frame out. Let's get a better view of them. We're now going to do something different. We're going to duplicate them. And this one we're going to Dynamesh at 256. Then we're going to hide the forearm and hands. Because what we're going to do is, this is Celtic. We're going to give him a kilt, a full kilt. So the next thing is we go to modify topology, delete hidden, and close holes. Then we're going to subdivide. 1, 2, 3. Well, before we subdivide, we're going to smooth the chest and back on this left-hand shoulder. Quite a lot. Okay. Now, we're going to subdivide it quite a bit. Burn. Burn. Oops. Lower res, delete higher, delete lower. There we go. Now, we shrink this down. We're going to come down over his, well, local shift on. Over his shoulder to here. And then to there. And we're going to come down over this way. We're then going to cut the bottom of it. Make it a bit sharp. Okay. Mom's in there watching the NBA draft. And I love how they're talking about their reach as their wingspan. Like they're eagles or something. Okay. Now, we're going to extract this. We're going to make this visible so we can see, make sure that we're getting out through all the musculature. We're going to extract this at 0.03. Extract. Okay, accept. Draw. And then delete delete that body. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide this guy. We're going to dynamesh this at 128. We're going to go to deform. We're going to polish it 5. And then go up to back up to make him visible. And we're going to use move, made much bigger. And we're going to pull this in. We have room for the belt to look natural over it. And when it comes time to start sculpting in the wrinkles, it'll be there to be all wrinkly, coming out from under that belt. And then we're turning on transparency, going to polish, increasing it a lot, and we're going to polish the underside to make it look sharply cut off at the bottom. Okay. And there we go. Now we're going to subdivide it quite a bit. Change this to 512. And then, okay. And subdivide one more time. Now we're going up, selecting him, going to translate parent again. We're going to shrink the mouse. Be reasonable for right around here. And we're going to draw on where the belt is. Okay. And then from here, we're going to come around underneath that one little muscle. And it's the only thing we're going to come out. And we're going to try it at 0.02. Okay, accept. Draw. Click him and draw. Then the belt. We're going to go to geometry. We're going to dynamesh it at 256. And then go to move. We're going to pull it out a little. To make it kind of clear that it's coming over this over the shoulder kilt. Now, to undo the transparency. Yeah, that's good. Let's get a little quick glimpse. Frame, zoom out. Okay. Honestly, that's all we really need to do with those until time to do wrinkles. Really and truly, what's next is going to be the hair. So we go to the beard. I'm going to use this move tool. We're going to kind of pull it down because he said long beard. We're going to make it like dwarf worthy here. Okay. Now we're going to use clay buildup brush. We're going to go to auto masking and turn on back face, so we're not pulling out the back of it. And we're going to change this for the round one. Shrink it a little bit. And we're going to start building up the back of the hair. Now we're going to subdivide that so we can start doing a bit more. Lower dynamic. Now pull it out here a bit more. Going to be coming down and laying on top of the cloak because we want that for printing purposes. We want it to be easily printed. And a little bit here. And smooth out just a bit. We're also going to go ahead and we're going to use the move tool to bring it forward. And then okay, we're going to frame out just to get a better look at him. We're then going to subdivide them a few and dynamic. Okay, has he shown back up? Okay, welcome back. So there's your scaly cloak. We're working on the beard because really and truly the beard is the next major chunk to work on. And we're going to go ahead and turn off everything except the beard. And, well, we got to turn him on so we can see him. Now, we subdivided a few times. And we go to inflate, shrink it down. We're going to inflate the area around here to kind of bring out where the sideburns are going to be and the base of the beard. And then we're going to increase the size of what will be the stash, because he's a Celt. He's going to have a big bushy stash. And a little bit up the center. Okay, now we go back to the clay buildup tool. We're going to shrink it down a bit. Make sure that we've got our lazy mouse turned off. We're going to use it to make first our basic locks, so it's too small. We just need to get our little shape down. So this ear has the braid. What we're going to do with that is, let's go ahead and undo that. We're going to shrink this down. We're going to increase the intensity a bit. And we're going to start adding in what will be for the braid. Then we're going to add in like a little, I'm going to assume he's got a little ring at the end of his braid. We're going to smooth that out after we get it in. We're going to define it a little bit better here in just a minute, but this is just to get the basic geometry in place. And then he's got like a little poof at the end. Now, we're going to make the mouse big again, and we're going to start drawing in the other locks. We're not going to do too much on the bottom because it's got that cloak underneath it. But we are going to add in just some basic swept back hair with some wavy go lines in it. Now this Okay. Now, just to show how it fits with the cloak, we're now going to standard brush, and we're going to this alpha. I'm going to increase it quite a bit. Go to drag dots and turn off lazy mouse. And we're going to just kind of bring in this to emphasize that this is kind of like the bottom of the hair. Okay. Now, we're going to slash. Once again, turning it off lazy mouse, turning down the intensity to about 14, and reducing the size. First, quite a bit. And we're going to draw in an emphasis around each of these braided bits. Alright, kind of exaggerating the depth around the braid parts. And come around that way. And then we bring it out, and we're going to try and kind of emphasize a bit more precise shape around where the end of the bring that around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to inflate. We're going to kind of inflate the back here. Move that just a bit. Inflate here. And then with the move, I'm going to kind of move it back in like that. Then we're going to go back to slash. We're going to switch it to add, drop it down to about 8. We're going to come around this way to harden edge around the end of the bead. A little bit of smoothing. And the bead's pretty obvious now. So is the braid. We now need to add in. Well, first of all, I need to take off my shoes. My feet are getting a little warm. Now we need to, once again, make this a little bit bigger, about the size of 2 strips. And we're just gonna kind of slash in the space between these. We can actually hide him now. And the and what we're doing here is we're just kind of exaggerating the space between the locks. There's very few times where you draw large numbers of individual hairs for any purpose because they don't paint weld and they don't look right at this scale. Because this scale is just that. It's a scale. It's not perfectly proportionate. It's stylized. Now, it doesn't take we don't have too much longer for these locks. And then we'll come around up here. So what's going to happen is next step is we're going to sharpen it. Then we're going to add in a couple smaller runs with the sharpen brush. Simply because, you know, there are some hairs that do crop up. Okay, we're going to come around from here because we want it to be a lock. This also helps make the hair look a bit wilder, more like, you know, he's just utterly berserk. And apparently Mom was watching one of her real crime shows. They're talking about the massacre at the Pulse. Okay, and then down here, just a little bit more, we're gonna come down like that. And now we're going to clay build up. We're going to make this a bit bigger. This is just to build up down here for the purposes of blending into both the head and the cloak. Okay, now we're going to go back to slash. We're going to go to add and drop it down to 8. And we're going to do some of these areas. We're going to sharpen and give us some swoops to work with on the peaks of these locks, which will give us a bit more of a flow, especially for some of the smaller ones. Okay. Anyway, so the trick for most painting, well, most miniatures that are going to be painted, is you don't want to add in all the detail. You want to imply the detail, whether it's the hairs, chainmail, although chainmail you can often get away with actually doing the detail. But like anything that's really super fine, really fine chainmail like what you'd see in science fiction, you know, that you just want to make it implied into the sculpting. What you really want to focus on is something that can be recognized as what it's supposed to be from 3 feet away by someone with normal vision, not someone who's got my weird eyeballs, and something that gives the impression of what it's supposed to be while being easy to paint. Okay, frame out. Now we're going to load in the body. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to sub. We're going to shrink it quite a bit. And we're going to increase it quite a bit. And we're just going to kind of draw in I'm going to bring these in. And now these will only be seen on resin prints. And we're only going to have a little bit of them here on the beard and at the base of the hair. Because all they're for is just to continue the implications of hair. We now throw on that cloak, and you can see the hair pretty much defines itself. Got that nice heavy flow. No pun intended. Don't say anything. Don't. Please don't say anything. Anyway, let me go ahead and... No, I do not want to restart Firefox. Not now. Okay. The current state of affairs for the big guy. Okay. The next step would be the axe and then wrinkles on the clothing. Because, I mean, you can see that we have this nice little kilt and an over-the-shoulder thingy. What in the... Anyway. So, what we're going to do next is we're actually going to go ahead and do the axe. We're going to hide everything. Because we want the axe to be the focus. Now, geometry, subdivide a couple times. And we're going to Dynamesh at 768. And I got a hiccup. Yeah. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add on some knot work along the blade. Knot work sound good to you, Thomas? No, I'm going to kind of assume so. Let's open up Lightbox and go to Brush. And I believe it's under Insert IMM. There we go, knot work. Now we make it bigger. No, too small. I'm going to try and come down the middle. And then we're going to inflate that just to see how it looks. No. Now, 1, 2. No. I don't like how that turned out. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to go back to a standard brush. I'm going to shrink it down. Yes, I asked if you wanted knot work on your axe. Engraved knot work. Okay. The way this is going to work, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which means basically going to be just a braid. Alright, so shrink this a little bit. Actually, no, we need to turn on lazy mouse for this, because we need to make sure that we're giving it a nice curve. Actually, from here and up. And then here. No, it's not looking good. Let's try this one. Make sure this one works good. Okay, that one's good. Yeah. We're now going to go to subtool. We're going to split unmasked parts. And we're going to do it over here. Okay, that's better. Split unmasked parts. Points. We're going to delete this one. And now we're going to do it again from here. I'm going to try and stay near the outer rim. There. Yeah. Split unmasked parts. We're going to end up moving it around a little bit when we get to it. Now, here, come around. And let's drag it. And split unmasked parts. And then come around here. And then There we go. Split unmasked parts. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to merge down all of these bits and go to the Move Topological tool. Get it big. Actually, the Move tool. We're also going to hide the X. Now bring up this and bring down that. I'm gonna have to go back and forth a little. Okay, we make the X visible. Okay, we've got to pull this out. And then bring it over this way. Up here, and then bring down here. Okay, that's good. Now what we're going to do, let's make him visible just so that we can see the, or not the beard, him. Just so we can see the hands on the handle. And so we can get a good view on the detail level. Okay. We're going to take this geometry, we're going to divide it. 1, 2. Deformation, we're going to inflate. Okay, now we're going to go to Move Topological. And we're going to start moving this in deeper. Because we kind of need to. So it's needs to be embedded in this axe. Okay. Okay, and then this. Okay, frame out. That is our... We're going to subdivide it a little bit more. And now on the axe itself, you said the haft is bone, correct? Do you want it to look like a single bone, or do you want it that it was carved out of bone? What I can do is down the shaft, if we assume it was carved out of bone, I can give it a little bit of an organic feel, and then down the shaft engrave some runes. So for example, we'd maybe make the tip of this jagged and the back end of this have the little bulbous bit like on a shoulder bone, and then very clearly have been shaved down to make the shaft. What we would smooth this whole thing here out. Okay. Yeah. And sub. And then we define that area here. Like a thigh bone. We're gonna leave it a little ragged because we want it to look organic. And make the mouse quite a bit bigger. We're gonna kind of flatten this side just a little bit. And then hit smooth. There we go. Then we go to Lightbox, brush, mallet, and mallet fast. We're gonna kind of just give it some. Oh, that was too hard. Some very light. Just to give it an organic shape, and then we smooth it. And there we go. And like I said, we can add some runes down the haft if you really want them. Okay. It is now 9:03. We have half an hour left. He's getting there, but what we need to do is we need to add wrinkles to his kilt and his overkilt. We're going to hide everything except for the overkilt. And the belt. And we're going to go to clay buildup. We're going to shrink this down. And what we're going to start off with is some wrinkles dealing with the fact that it's been tucked in. And I'm going to smooth out the ends. A little bit of smoothing. And then from here, it's going to be actually a slightly different look. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I'm going to smooth this just a bit. Because we're just wanting to give it the basic shape with this. Alright. And now we're going to add on some... We're actually going to dig in on this, but we're going to add on just a few over-the-shoulder wrinkles here. Smooth that out. Smooth this out. Now we go to slash. We're going to make it a little bit bigger to match with this. We're going to bring it down there. Oh, make sure I got this going. Okay, there we go. I'm going to dig in deeply into these wrinkles. Well, comparatively deep. Oh, cut that out. Autosave is a wonderful thing, but it gets annoying at times. This down this way and bring it over there. Bring it down this way and bring this coming out of nowhere and then wrinkling down there. And I can hear somebody playing with their radio just a few doors down. Now we add and bring this down to 9, and we're going to swoop down the bottom of each of these wrinkles. The reason why the bottom, that's how gravity kind of works, you know. We're going to smooth it just a bit because this is supposed to be a bit more flowy because it's down near the bottom. Kind of flow it. That's after we do and then we smooth over. And then we get the sharper visions here. Now, Then I'm going to smooth it out a bit, because once again, this is not heavily. This is an unusual fabric. Let's bring that. I also need to kind of come down this way. That's that. And now we need to add in wrinkles on the kilt itself, and we need to detail the hands. Okay, now what we're going to do from here is we're going to, well, with him selected, we're going to, oh, that's too much. Okay, and then here. And coming up there. And then we're going to smooth it out. And now we go to slash. We're going to shrink it down just a little. Z sub, go to 12. And we're going to carve under. And we got those wrinkles down. There we go. Frame out. And now let's make the axe visible so we can work on those hands. Now we go to inflate. Put this draw size at 12 and the intensity 10 and add. Now we're going to start with the thumbs. And now thicken that thumb, bent thumb. Thomas, if you look at it right now, the hands kind of look Well, like Muppet hands, right? Well, it turns out just by adding in knuckles and those little bits there that the tendons, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just a brief pass over. The hands look a lot more realistic. Now we got to do the other hand. And as before, we start with inflating that thumb because it was the way the rigging works, it bent inwards. Inflate in there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then smooth out the back end of it. Now the ring finger has its joints at almost exactly the same point as the index. Of course, the middle finger a little bit longer and the pinky a little bit smaller. Okay, let's frame out. Let's go ahead and make everything visible. And before we do anything else, on this geometry, let's subdivide this grass. Frame out, zoom out. What do you think so far? We have a few minutes left if you want to add anything else to it. But what does this look like to you? Thomas? Ugh. Hello? It's about time, Thomas. Actually, let me do it this way. Go ahead and make sure to get some of this information off of here. There he is. There is your big, burly barbarian with his wyvern scale cloak and his massive great axe and his big, bushy beard and hair. Well, he's ready. If that's enough, then I'm going to go ahead and fuse them all down into a single figure, and I'll print them out between now and Wednesday. Now, what I normally do is when I give you the figure, it will be primed gray so you can see all the detail and it doesn't look like a ghost. So, scroll up to the very top, select him, and we just start merging down until everything's all merged. 9.9 million triangles is a bit too much to print. Most of the programs can't handle that many. So the first thing we do is I control draw like that, and it dynameshes the whole thing into one mesh, but in doing so, it also drops it down to 2 million polys. It fuses it all together. That's still too many. So I go to ZScript, and I go up to where it has, not ZScript, ZPlugin. I go up to where it has Decimation Master. And we want it to be about 100,000 triangles. It doesn't have a lot of chainmail, which would need 150, but it's also more detailed than the average. So we click there, analyzing mesh, and that little orange thing up there is the progress. After it's done analyzing, it'll then oversimplify everything to bring it down to about 100,000 triangles and 50,000 points, vertexes. And writing file to disk, there we go. It is 100,050 triangles, 49,911 points. And it still has all of the detail that we included in it to begin with. Now what we do is we go to Modify Topology, just to double check, weld points. Doesn't change anything, so there weren't any points that needed welding. So we're going to close holes now, and then weld the points. And we all have 99,788,000 polygons, because it closed the holes. And we are going to export into Broadcast Miniatures, new, Barbarbarbar. What is your Barbar's name? Well, it's already 922. What is his name? So I can name the file that. Thomas? Okay. I'm calling him Valib the Axeman. And save. Okay. Now, that is the final version. And he has that braid on the left, past the left ear, like you said. It starts right about here and goes back because he's running, or he's charging forward, so it's all flowing to the back. He is not happy. And now we go ahead and back to here. Okay, so that was the Um, uh, Barbar Sculpt. Now, what's going to happen, like I said, sometime, probably tomorrow, I'm going to print them out, get them cured on the UV light, and I'm going to give them a gray primer. I don't think I have. What I normally do, like I said, I prime them gray, and then I give a very light dry brushing of a slightly lighter gray to pick out the details. If you want to paint them on top of that, fine. If you want to just leave them gray, fine. I mean, like, most of the ones in the game on Wednesday, we had a night where we didn't have, or we had 2 weeks in a row where we didn't have game. So instead I invited everyone to come up and we could paint the figures. And if they didn't know how to paint them, I could teach them the basics in painting. But you've been gaming long enough, you probably know. Now, for the rest of the audience, some of you remember that the other night I sculpted a flesh golem. You've seen this, Thomas. I got him painted. Now, I used a mixture of watercolors, the new Citadel contrast paints, and regular paints that are more along my usual. You are welcome, Thomas. I will have them for you on Wednesday. Yeah, this is my flesh golem. He came out just as nice as I had hoped in terms of pose. The tanks were a little bit more difficult to paint to look like they had liquid in them than I thought they would be. But, oh well. He can... Oh, what are you doing? Yes. I have a Carlton. Ugh. What is up with you, Furball? What is up? Back! Don't tell me you're already... What? I know you like... Oh. Thomas, say hi to Carlton. He's a camera hog, aren't you? You just love coming in here and... Yeah. And you only do this when the camera's on. You're a lot more polite about it when there's no camera on. He'll come up to my chair and just go... And I'll ask permission. When I got the camera on, oh no, it's dive tackle. Yeah. He's so feral, isn't he? I gotta put you down so I can log out, Fuzzbutt. Oh, yes. Alright. Get on down, Furball. Go. Good boy. Alright. So, as usual, it's now time to go ahead and log out. I'm going to hold my hand up here. Go from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy and stupid, and then go... When I do that, that means... When I see it happen on the screen, that means I've caught up to the lag and to the 10-second delay that YouTube puts on here, and I can end the broadcast safely. So... Yeah. That's going to be a 5, a 4, a 3, 2, and a 1. The only thing worse than a party full of players who won't cooperate is a game master that won't listen to their players. Good night.